Since the release of this course, Google has introduced a slight interface change. When you're looking at the How to Navigate video, you may notice at the very top of the screen, that's where you go to switch back and forth between the Google products. This is the difference. To do this now, go over to the far right-hand side and click on the grid icon. This will take you to the screen where you can choose any Google product that you want to toggle back and forth between. For example, Gmail, Google Drive, and Google Calendar. So if you've been using Gmail for a while and notice that it's different, the bar's not gone, you just have to go to a different place to access it. Also, you used to switch back and forth between a Google Apps for Business account and a normal Google Gmail account by clicking on a triangle at the top right-hand side. Instead, now you're going to click directly on the picture next to it. This is going to take you to that same screen where you can either add an account or click to toggle back and forth between two different Google accounts. So as you can see, there's slight changes, so just remember to look for the grid icon to access the type of Google product that you want to go back and forth between. Here's a quick intro to where to find the things you need in Gmail, so you'll be prepared for when I talk about them in later videos. I'll start right at the top, and we'll go clockwise. Right up here at the top is the navigation bar of all the Google products that you now have access to with your Gmail account. For example, YouTube, Google Drive, and Calendar. Right below that is the main search bar to search your Gmail account. Further over here on the right is your actual Gmail account settings and profile information. Below that is the Gmail button to switch between Gmail, contacts, and tasks. Up next is the action bar where you can act on any selected email in your inbox. Further over to the right is how to navigate through long pages of emails. For example, in the inbox view right now, I'm looking at message 1 through 25 out of 32 messages. To get to the next page, I can click this right button. The gear icon is how to access all my Gmail settings and to change themes. So let's continue all the way over to the bottom left hand of the screen. This is where I can see my Google Talk chat status and all my contacts for instant messaging right in Gmail. Continuing up, this is my folder and label pane to access any of my folders that I've made and my labels and any circles of people that I have in all my Google Plus circles. I know I'm currently in the inbox right now because it's red. And over here is my main message pane right in the middle of the screen. This is where I can see all my conversation threads and all my new emails. Any email that I haven't read yet, so it's unread, is going to be in boldface. Email that I've already looked at isn't boldface. I can place check marks beside any emails, and you'll notice that the action pane becomes larger because I can now act on these emails. I can also star an email to mark it as a visual label. We'll talk about that later. And I can also click this button to train Gmail according to what emails are important and what isn't. We'll talk about that later too. So up next, I'll show you how to customize your inbox a little bit more, but that's the basic navigation of your Gmail account. You can physically organize an email by moving it out of the inbox, but for now, I'm going to show you how you can visually organize them by managing your emails with labels, as you can see here. A Gmail label is a visual tag for messages and conversations. You can assign a message to a label and move it out of the inbox, which I'll talk about next, but you can also assign a label and keep it in the inbox. Consider it like a visual classification. You can also assign more than one label to a single message, like I've done here. Let's start by creating some labels. I have this newsletter called eMarketer Daily, so let's put that in its own label. I'm going to place a check mark next to it, and up here on the action bar, I'm going to choose the label icon and click Create New. I need to give it a label name, so I'll call it eMarketer, and click Create. Now that that label's been created, I can come up here and label that message with the eMarketer label. I click Apply, and my message has now been given the label. If I want to find that or see any message that I've flagged with that label, I can come over here on the left-hand side and click eMarketer. It's going to filter out any message except the ones that I've labeled with eMarketer, and it's also going to tell me where it's located. In this case, it's still in the inbox. I can change the color of that label. It's all about personal preference and how I'm going to work best. So I can hover my mouse over eMarketer and click the drop-down arrow, and now I can choose a label color. I'll choose a blue one, and it's going to tell me that the color from my label eMarketer has been adjusted. If I go back to the inbox, I'll now see my nice blue label. I can select multiple messages and assign them to a label also. For example, I can click this eMarketer daily, and I can find another one. I can come back to my email now that there's two selected and choose eMarketer. Click apply, and both those messages now have labels. If I come back into this label, I can see that all three of my messages currently are flagged with the eMarketer label. I can also assign sub-labels. I can come down here and click on the blue icon next to my eMarketer and create Add Sub-Label. I'll call this one Favorites, to which I can flag my favorite newsletters. It's nested under eMarketer. I can click Create. And now I can select a newsletter as my favorite by selecting it, going up to Labels, and choosing eMarketer Favorites. Click Apply, and now it's been given that sub-label. I can remove a label at any time by placing a check mark beside what I want to remove, coming up here to the Labels tab and unchecking that label. Click Apply, and the label's been removed. I can also delete a label at any time by clicking the drop-down arrow and choosing Remove Label. It's going to ask me if I really want to delete that label, and if I'm sure, I can click Delete. I can also rename labels. I can click the arrow and click Edit. Now I can give it a new name. Click Save, and my label's been changed. I can come back into my inbox and see that the changes have been made. There's one more thing I want to show you. You can assign multiple labels to a single email. For example, I've got my trusty e-marketing newsletter. I can place a check mark next to it, come back up to my labels, and it assign it to another label. For example, Needs Review. If it's a newsletter that I want to make sure I don't miss, I can click Apply. And now that conversation has been added to Needs Review along with eMarketing Newsletter. I can find that newsletter in the eMarketer Daily and in the Needs Review section. So up next, I'll show you how to assign the label and move the message out of the inbox at the same time. But for now, this is how you visually classify all your emails to stay organized. I talked about how you can visually organize mail by marking them with labels. Now I'm going to show you the physical portion of organizing emails by moving them out of the inbox and adding a label at the same time. You'll find that this is pretty similar to the way a traditional email program allows you to move messages into folders. And even though you've heard me call it folders a couple of times, it's important to note that Gmail does not actually call the structure folders. They're always called labels, and you're just moving your emails out of the inbox into a label. It's a different way of thinking about organizing and finding your mail. So let's go ahead and start moving some messages out of the inbox. Here's my email, which is a coupon that I had already given the label coupons. So now I can continue to give it that label, but I want to move it out of the inbox. So I'm going to place a check mark next to it and come up here to the action bar, except instead of labels, I'm going to select Move To. I'm going to choose the coupons label that I've already created. Gmail tells me that the conversation has been moved to the coupon label. You'll notice it's out of my inbox, and if I want to find it again, I have to come over here on the left-hand side and choose Coupons. And there it is. You'll notice it doesn't have that inbox tag like the rest of them did, because of course we've just moved it out of the inbox. I'm going to go back to the inbox, and you can do this for multiple things at the same time. I can place a check mark besides all my eMarketer dailies that I want to move. Come over here to Move and select eMarketer Newsletter. It's telling me that 2 conversations have been moved. And again, if I come over here on the left-hand side and select it, I can see now that only one of these emails remains in my inbox. The rest of them are just strictly available in this label. I can move it and create a label at the same time. I can check off a couple of these Google Calendar reminders, come up here to Move To, and click Create New, just like we did with the labels. I'll call this label Reminders, click Create, And now I can come back up here, now that it's been created, and move my reminders into that label. They're now out of the inbox, and over here on the left-hand side in reminders. There's another way to move it. Instead of placing a checkbox and coming up here to move to, I can also click and drag. For example, every time I hover my mouse over the checkbox, I get 3 dots on the left-hand side. If I move my mouse slowly over those dots, the icon changes to a hand. I can click and drag with the mouse over the label that I want to move it to. I can let it go over reminders, and the conversation has been moved. This is a great way to move things all at once. I can select all these calendars, click and drag, let go over reminders, and all of them will have been moved into my reminders tag. At any time, I can move them back to the inbox by coming over here and selecting it and either choosing Move to Inbox or clicking and dragging and moving it back to the inbox. You'll notice it's not removed from that tag. However, it's also tagged with inbox, letting me know that this email can now be found in this label and in the inbox at the same time. Remember, it's just a different way of thinking about how your email is organized. There's the visual and there's the physical. So now that you know how to start organizing your mail, you can decide whether you want to just tag a message or label it and move it at the same time. Now you can go through and start organizing all your email just the way you want it. Gmail contains 2 different ways to clean up your email: archiving and deleting. Delete a message when you're completely sure you aren't going to need a message again. It will be moved to the trash label, and Gmail will permanently remove it from the trash, and it will be gone forever after 30 days. To move a message to the trash, or multiple messages, place check marks beside them, and select the trash icon. Gmail will tell you that the 2 conversations have been moved to the trash, and you can either wait 30 days for it to be purged, or if you need it back within that time, over on the left-hand side, click More, scroll down a bit because I have a few labels, find the trash folder, and view your messages. If you need them back, you can place check marks beside them, select the Move To icon, and select Inbox. It'll bring them back to the inbox and out of the trash. I'm going to come back to my inbox because I want to talk about archiving. Gmail would actually rather you archive your messages instead of deleting them. They want to use all that free space they give you to keep messages just in case you need them later. Archiving a message removes it from your inbox and puts it into a special label called All Mail so that it can be out of sight and out of mind completely. However, you can still search for it should you need it years down the road. To archive, select your messages that you want to get out of the inbox and you don't particularly want them in any other label, and select Archive. Gmail is going to tell you that 2 conversations have been archived. To find those messages, you can either do a search from the search bar, which we'll talk about later, or you can browse your All Mail area. Over on the left-hand side, click More, scroll down a bit, and select All Mail. This is just what it says it is. It's all your mail. It's everything in all your labels and your sent folder. It'll tell you where the file is. For example, the ones that say Me are things that were in my sent folder. Things that are in your inbox are labeled inbox, and there's all these other labels so I know where to find the messages. You'll see that these are my entries that I specifically archived to get them out of everything except for the All Mail label. To get back to your inbox at any time, just come over here on the left-hand side, scroll up, and select Inbox. Now you can get things out of your inbox, delete what you want, archive what you think you're going to need years down the road, and you'll be able to find everything that you need when you need it. Labels allow you to categorize